to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
Blowing out someone's candle won't make yours shine brighter.
And Dale Hummel.
One moment, I need to order some ice cream. Oh yeah, our economy is strong as hell.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Well, Ryan, how's your day going?
My day's fine.
I've had a very productive day. We had the week at the American Royal. Now back home catching up on some things, and I got to see your little girlfriend from the White House talking a little bit ago to Peter Doocy.
I'm sure that went well.
Yeah, she claims that Biden is encouraging or producing more oil during his administration than Trump did.
That would be fake news.
You know, I thought about that. Maybe, remember when oil got to zero? I assume there was no production of oil because there was no demand during COVID. So there, maybe when they shut down for that, maybe there's a loophole there that she can make those figures work. But he was challenging her on if he's going to hold to his promise to shut down fossil fuel production. And she kind of tried to twist it around that he's doing everything he can to ramp up production. It's all big oil that won't do it. And he's blaming the mom and pop gas station, Saudi Arabia, Russia, everybody but his energy policy for the fuel prices. And releasing more out of our emergency reserves.
I don't believe that any of that, but anyway.
No, that's your little girlfriend, the little cute girl.
I do think she is cute physically. I said that.
Well, what about the biggest thing in my current event world is I'm a little concerned that our leadership has put us as close to nuclear war as there's ever been in my lifetime, or any time, I guess you should say. Did you see the New York City put out a public service announcement about it?
Yeah, but that was out 6 months ago.
Yeah,
they're just replaying it.
Just replay. I mean, why? What would it?
No, but they've been having it out for 6 months. I saw the exact same one 6 months ago. It was a big deal. They're just now putting it back out there because of this. It's been in this. It hasn't been reissued or anything. They're just highlighting it in the news again.
What I'm asking why is what they're telling you to do. Number one, get inside. 2, stay inside. Shut all doors and the windows. Remove your clothing if it was contaminated. And then 3, stay tuned for updates and do not go outside until officials say it's okay. I got news for them. I don't think that's going to do a whole lot if a nuclear war is upon us.
Especially if you were outside already.
I don't think it matters if you're inside out. It does not matter. We do not have a nuclear shelter. Those in Washington, yeah, I believe they do have fallout shelters that they could probably survive it. The rest of us, there is no nuclear bomb shelter out there for us. It doesn't exist. They used an example when the sirens went off in Hawaii and everybody's wondering what to do when they really thought it was a nuclear threat. And they found out very quickly there was nowhere to tell them to go other than in their house and shut their doors. And that is an issue and makes me nervous. I lay awake at night thinking how you could get out of this situation with Putin in the position that he's in. And I don't think there's a logical way out of the situation that we're in at all. I think we could have avoided it earlier through strength and energy independence and some things like that. But at this point, I really don't know how we could possibly turn this around and make it better, make this whole nuclear threat go away because he's crazy. He's backed into a corner. There's some rumors that he may have cancer. Have you heard anything about that?
No, I've heard nothing like that.
And I don't know whether to, I can't.
You've said this 3 times. I think that you're just pulling this out of your ass personally.
No, it keeps coming up there and it keeps getting more traction. And I maybe it's wishful. And I wouldn't even call it wishful thinking. I think that'd be the worst thing in the world that could happen if he had something terminal. So
the whole thing is it doesn't matter if he has something terminal or not. Who's going to replace him? You don't know if they're crazier than he is.
Well, I don't think
when the last time you brought, yes, no, it is.
Nobody crazier than him.
Bullshit. No. Kim Jong-un is crazier than him, and his sister is crazier than he is. And when everybody thought he was dead, they're like, oh, no, y'all don't want him to be dead because this bitch is really stupid. So, yeah, there is always somebody worse.
Oh, I've not heard of any within that names popping up. More so that their positive spin on it is they don't think whoever he gives a command to will flip the switch. I can't. I have no idea. My thoughts are he's probably got it in a situation where he doesn't need anybody else to flip the damn switch. It concerns me. Very much concerned.
You don't even know if he has nuclear capability to...
We don't know if Russia has nuclear capability. Are you serious?
Has he proven it?
Not only does he have nuclear capability, he has the most nuclear weapons on the entire damn planet.
And he's never fired them, and he doesn't even test them.
Oh, Jesus.
You don't even know if they work.
Oh, you've lost your mind.
No, you're just trying to scare all these people.
No, I'm not. I would rather there was no scaring going on. I'm just at the reality and wanting people to understand that this is, we're putting ourselves in a situation.
Well, it's real simple.
What's simple?
If you don't want him to use nuclear weapons on the U.S., quit backing your buddy from Ukraine.
Maybe that's a solution. Do I want him to be able to take over whoever he wants? No, but I don't. I'm with you. I don't know what the right decision is. That would postpone something like that. Yes.
And all you people that have all this love for the little Ukrainian man, all this shit with Hunter Biden that's coming out now, and that Joe's involved, and there's a new whistleblower, and that Joe was in on all the business things, and actually that they delayed payment from some of these things so he was out of the vice presidency so Joe could get it. You know who's also involved on that? Ukraine.
I mean, there's no question they were dirty.
So and you know, you used to be the biggest little Ukraine supporter in the world. You had a flag in your yard and all this other shit.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't understand. Like, this is exactly what I don't like about, and not just the Biden administration, but like Trump stuck to fixing America and not the world. Why can't we just fix our own country?
I think the good thing is by fixing America projected enough strength that it kept the rest of the world in check. That's where I'm at with it. And
I think the rest of the world in check because they knew Trump was just crazy enough to do something like Putin or Kim Jong-un.
I agree. And your little man over in
Biden wouldn't even know how to flip a switch or punch in a code or anything else like that. So
Ukraine, there's no question they've been corrupt as Russia or anybody for years. But what bothers me, and again, I'm with you. I think maybe that's the only solution is to back off there. But
that's all he wants is he wants to control. I'm telling you, I don't know this man. I've never seen this man. I'm telling you, if Putin is dying, he's getting older, but I don't think he's death age. I've never heard anything about him having terminal cancer, anything like this. I think you dream this up when the aliens come and get you at night. But anyway,
I wish the aliens would come and get him.
Very clear that his wish and what his legacy, if you listen to anything, read anything, what he wants his legacy to be is to restore the Soviet Union.
That doesn't mean that he should be allowed to do it.
If it's him using nuclear weapons on the United States or restoring the Soviet Union, long live the Soviet Union.
I can agree with that. I agree with all the corruption in Ukraine. What I feel for is the thousands of civilians that I assume are good people that have done nothing wrong, that have been killed by him for unprovoked attack or to fulfill his mission to reunite the Soviet Union. I feel bad for those that have and will lose their life that are, I guess, caught in the middle of the political bullshit.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. But if it's that or us get nuked, my sympathy for them is a lot, but not the other. I'm a little selfish here.
While we're on the world stage, I did hear that China is stepping up their protocol to take over Taiwan. I didn't hear why, but that it was going to happen sooner than anybody expected. I'm assuming maybe
within 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear at the time. I assume they want to do it before the next presidential election.
Well, that's like this year.
Yes. So
he's running for president again right now.
You just stay right with that one, okay?
Stay with.
Yeah, that's good. We'll see how that works out.
No, I'm serious. China isn't.
China, not Biden.
No, China.
Yeah, I was referring to before our next presidential election.
Oh, no, I'm talking about like China. Homeboy is literally campaigning right now to be reelected.
I don't think it matters what he does. He just reelects
I
himself.
just watched the stupid son of a bitch give a campaign speech. I'm telling you.
It's just for the. It doesn't matter. He's reelected.
That is why you confused me, sir, because I just watched him give a campaign speech. I'm like, he's running right now. Like,
yeah, no, I'm referring to I would think they would want to take over Taiwan before we have a presidential change.
Oh, yeah. Well, he better get on that quick, because I heard the timeline was 5 years, and that's like 2.
Yeah, no, and I don't know. The other thing that really got me today, and I heard it just this morning while I was here in the house for a little while, getting ready to jump on here, in all of the, I don't even know how to phrase this or how to put it into proper words to get it across strong enough. But they were talking about China having purchased, not stolen necessarily, and they steal plenty from us, but a lot of the aerodynamic software stimulation programs from our aerospace companies that we fund through our tax dollars, and they deliberately or knowingly sold these to the Chinese through some shell company, but it appears as though they were aware it was the Chinese that were purchasing these. So we're funding basically the research for the Chinese military.
Well, that's cool.
How can we not have checks and balances on these things? And as big of a threat as China is become, I am just overwhelmed that we're still educating. And again, I'm not trying to be negative towards a Chinese student that's here in our university system, but there have been thousands, tens of thousands of them since I was in college. They're still there. They're taking a lot of the graduate assistantships. They're working in a lot of the high tech laboratories. We're basically educating China for what reason? So they can take over the world. It's senseless. I cannot wrap my head around it.
Do you want to know a funny story?
I would. Yes, please.
Crockett is a little bitty town, and we had lots of African Americans and we had lots of Mexicans, most of them illegal immigrants that probably John been employed for his stable betting company and other things. But anyway, moving on. There was only one little Asian family in the whole town. Well, I go to A&M and there's just like 9 million Asians, like everywhere. And I did not know that they love to ride the little bikes, but they love to ride the little bikes. Y'all know I'm a terrible driver. I like hit 3 Asians at A&M.
Did not.
Swear. And I would get out and I would make sure they're okay. And I'd give them $100 and they'd pedal a little along.
Do we know if they were Chinese or what?
I didn't ask what nationality they were, Dale.
Okay. Well,
they put their bike in front of my car. Okay. It was bad.
I think if they were to look at it from a legal standpoint, you're probably the liable one.
Yeah, but I don't. $100. I think they were just so happy to be in this country and like whatever that. Yeah, but no, and like two of them I didn't hit. Two of them I hit their tire of their bicycle, but one I actually kind of scraped that one up a little bit. But anyway.
Oh, that's a good story. So the next issue I have hits a little closer to home.
Well, hold on. You said nothing about Hunter's new nonsense.
Oh, I go ahead.
I talked about it, and you didn't comment anything. New whistleblower, new all this.
Oh, yeah.
This all came out today.
I don't know that it's new. I thought it was the same guy that's been talking about it.
No, there's a no. Grassley sent a letter to the DOJ, to the guy doing the Hunter Biden investigation, and somebody last night because there is a new unnamed whistleblower.
Not the
same one. No.
See, I was under the I keep hearing this whistleblower, but I assumed it was the same one.
No. New one.
No, I don't know that anything's going to happen unless we take over the House of Representatives, and then.
But if they do, oh dear Lord,
it looks like everything's in place. If the Republicans take that over, they will go at it.
Well, the new power rankings came out today, and they're all very large GOP swing.
Yeah,
we are now up to. Go ahead.
The worst case scenario was the Democrats keep the House by like 2 under absolute worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, the Democrats keep the House by 2.
That's virtually impossible.
Right. They actually think that not the best case. The best case scenario is like we would have. It takes 218 to have a majority. but Republicans would have 252, but they're thinking that it will actually be like 228.
Yeah, I'll take anything over 219.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because if it's as bad as the Senate, you might want a little more push there, because we got people in the Senate that aren't true Republicans, but Romney.
And the Senate hasn't changed. There's still the 4 toss-ups.
Yeah, still the 4 toss-ups. It's the same. Now, there is one that was leaning Democrat or something that's almost toss-up, but I don't know which one that is. Everything on the West Coast is upside down, evidently, but I don't trust any of those people because there's a bunch of liberals. But and then the other thing that was like, gas has gone up, heating's gone up, but the two things that I have found the most interesting on my week off, which I'm so happy to have a week off, but anyway, is that in September, independent women favored Democrats by 14 points on everything. Poll released yesterday, they now favor Republicans by they favored Democrat by 14 points in September. Now they favor Republicans by 18 points. That's a 30-point swing.
I don't believe it can swing that much in that.
It's from the New York Times. I do not think that they wanted that put out there.
I think they're doing it to try to get out the vote on the other side. That's too large, and that's too many points. I'm not buying it. Not buying it.
Okay. Then
I hope it's accurate. I hope it's accurate. I'm a little angry about our woke issues in our country still.
You and Barack.
Very angry. I didn't know he was angry about it.
Oh, that's not where you're going with this?
No, I haven't. I don't watch it when he pops on. I walk in on the other room.
So Barack Obama is back out on the deal, and he really doesn't want to campaign, but he went and gave an interview, and he said the problem with Democrats is they're too damn worried about being woke. That's an exact quote. That is an exact quote.
He's trying to get his wife into office, I think.
I don't think that has anything to do with it. For what? I don't like the man. I don't think he's a great president, but he's not dumb.
No, and he speaks well. I'm a little bit concerned, and I don't know from a legal standpoint, but it appears as though right now, if you're a child under the age of 18 going down to a very young child, you can declare your own gender and go through hormonal procedures, surgical processes without your parents' permission. If your parents don't allow you to do that, the child or somebody can report that family to the DCFS, the Department of Child and Family Services. And the parents are actually at fault because they're not allowing their 9-year-old female to have a sex change to become a male or vice versa. I cannot even believe this is true, but I watched a segment on it, and I'm very, very I mean, just how is this possible?
How, when you're 9 years old, can you even know much in? Oh, Jesus!
No.
When I was 9, all I knew is I wanted to win steer shows.
But even if you don't, I am baffled. I can't wrap.
So this is all completely legal. A 9-year-old can march down there and say, "I'm a girl," and
I don't know. I can't believe.
How do you even have sex change at 9?
Hormonal therapies. I don't know. It is insane. I can't. And maybe
I don't know anything about sex change surgery at all. But I would think that you would have to go through puberty first before.
Maybe it's easier to redirect before. I have no idea. But
I don't.
The fact that this was, and I listened to it for probably 5 minutes on a Fox special, and then they portrayed it. This is how it is. But I cannot imagine that. I really can't.
You didn't listen enough because you should have paid more attention.
I should have.
Well, that's tragic.
You hit on most of everything that I had for current events, other than I did enjoy a few days helping clients in Kansas City and going to the haunted houses.
The only other thing and you cut me off because you don't believe in polls and you don't believe that the independent women are
New York. I hope you're right. How's that?
I
hope the New York Times is right.
I think and it's not just that poll. That's the most interesting poll, I thought. But all the polls are kind of swinging GOP. And again, I'm not a huge believer in polls, but I do think when all these other, like the big headline, whether you go to CNN, MSNBC, all the other things, is that Democrats peaked too early. And if y'all remember, I said they're pushing this abortion thing too hot and heavy because it's going to lose traction by the time we get around. Because, I mean, it's not, the news cycle is not the same as it used to be 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago. Every day there's a new one now, where one headline used to last about a week or more. It's not, since Trump ran for president, it changed all of that. But
was there
anyhow, no, I'm just saying it doesn't. People,
no, I agree.
People do not stay on one issue nearly as long as they used to before Trump ran for president. And that's just facts.
I think that's a pass for Joe now because he has so many disasters. We just bounce from one to the other and forget the two disasters back.
I agree too. But so now all you Yankees, y'all have like heating issues and you have to buy heating oil. I don't even know what that is, but I guess that's a thing.
Yeah,
and so it's very, very expensive, evidently. And then gas is going up. There are 20 million family units that are behind in paying their utilities last month.
It's not very good. $178 to fill the pickup up on the way to Kansas City.
In what state?
That was in Missouri.
Oh, and I like Missouri.
I don't even remember what the price per gallon was, but that's the most I've ever put into a vehicle.
How many gallons did you get?
I don't know.
Do you have one of them big tanks on the back or something?
No, just a normal HD 2500 GMC pickup truck, whatever tank comes with that.
That's not good.
But I know it shut my credit card off at $100, and I had to put the damn thing in again.
Poor thing.
It's out of control. Out of control. Well, I am ready to move out of current events. We've probably gone a little bit long, but they are very important things. And we keep promising we're going to do a Beyond the Circus, which
it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. But
we really need to, but we'll see where that is.
Yeah. Well, Clifton's busy. So
he is busy this week. I don't know where he's at or what he's doing, but he's very busy.
So I have some BTRJLA. I have a top 10. We're going to do the top 10 junior cattle. Faith Campa of Golden Valley, Arizona is first. Kinley Stowe of Marana, Arizona is second. Dallas Ritchie of LaPorte, Indiana is third. Kiara Ingram of Fowler, Kansas is fourth. Lane Hagan of Yoakum, Texas is fifth. Sixth is Braley Kreisinger. I may have messed up that name, Braley. I'm very sorry if I did. Of Hugoton, Kansas. Followed by Logan Landroche of Marana, Arizona. That's two people from Marana, Arizona, different families. Todd Danley, Seminole, Texas, and then Vivian Lou Thompson of Troy, Alabama, I think is the one that rounds out the top 10 in the junior cattle.
Excellent. And do you have any sponsors?
Yes, I just want to give a shout out. I'm not going to do a whole bio, but I do want to give a shout out to all of our corporate sponsors for 2022. And they were Showcoat Solutions, Leonard Truck and Trailer, JH Cattle, Mini Herefords, and the Mini Mafia Publication, and Brock Farms Angus Cattle. That was our corporate sponsors for this year, and our national species sponsors for this year were Oldwood Limited, Langford Hereford Hybrids, Platinum Shelton Livestock was sheep, McGrew Equipment was pigs, and goats were S&R mink goats. So if you can support any of those companies in any way, we ask that you do it. Those were our national species and our national corporate sponsors. And when we get to question and answer, I'll be highlighting some more of our national sponsors. But thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, we look forward to hopefully y'all supporting us in 2023 as well.
Yes, and thank you. Ryan, I had a meeting while at the American Royal with the True Water Boy. Mr. H2O.
Oh, no. Oh, this was not a meeting. You went to a piano bar. Somebody sent me a text message of a picture of you at a piano. You were at a piano bar. You won't ever go out with me, but you'll go out with other people.
Wow.
I see how it is.
So this is the man.
That's right. You know what that is? That is discriminatory and a hate crime.
Oh, it is. Yep. I'm guilty as charged.
I bet this person was straight, weren't they?
I'm going to say most. Yes.
Yep,
but you know what? Sometimes
that is discriminatory and a hate crime. It is because I am gay. You will not go out with me.
I believe you were invited to this meeting.
I didn't go to the American Royal.
I didn't say whether you went or not. I'm just stating that you were
I was not invited. I didn't get an invitation. I got nothing.
So I had a chance to visit with the man behind the science for Show Fresh H2O. A couple hours of discussing water, Ryan. You would have loved it. What was interesting to me,
I would have been playing the piano and laying on top of it and singing.
The Show Fresh H2O concept actually started as an FFA ag sales project that is now basically grown into reality. I think it's a pretty neat story that he tells. We did talk a little bit. You'd love this too. A little bit about UFOs.
Oh,
Just a
good.
Little, about the black holes and the possibilities of time travel and some of those things. But if any of our listeners are wondering about the science behind Show Fresh H2O, I can now assure you a great deal of time and effort went into developing this product. You can pick up Show Fresh H2O at your local supply trailer and swampfox.com. Thank you for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you.
Main topic time. It's time for Jazzercise.
Yeah.
And Jazzercise in the livestock world would equate to
exercise. Duh.
Yes. So we're
just Jazzercise is going to make for a much cooler graphic and a much funnier topic. But
yes, I was thinking Olivia Newton-John. What were you thinking?
I like the one of the Golden Girls that I sent you, but you'll come up with anything, so I don't care. But
so this is going to all be about building muscle, burning calories to lean livestock up, keeping joints flexible, stimulating appetite, build some show ring endurance, and much, much more. Which species would you like to start with, Ryan?
Well, I think probably the easiest one to cover is cattle because they don't exercise them as much. So, or at least we don't. The way that I suggest that you ensure that your cattle get enough exercise is not an exercise routine per se, other than mine got plenty of exercise because we practiced with them every day, and that includes leading them and stuff like that. But like I've said on here before, if you have the possibility to set up the outside run at night for your animals to where you have water, feed, and hay spread out throughout that run, where one's at one end, the other's at the far end, and one's in the middle, then I do believe that the cattle will get enough exercise going back and forth to get the things that they want and desire in terms of the water, the feed, and the hay department, that you'll be all right.
Yes, and I don't know that we're doing, we're not, for the most part, there's no exercise going on to specifically build muscle, but rather to just keep the joints flexible, loose, keep the animal feeling good.
And then but I mean, the one thing that I have seen more and more, but I don't know where they do this at, but they put them in pools now. Yeah. Have you seen that?
A lot with horses. I haven't seen any cattle.
They do it in cows too, but I wouldn't even know where to drag mine to go to a pool.
You do not have a pool in Crockett, Texas?
No, yes, I do, but not one that a cow can get in, Dale. I mean, they have these specifically for animals now, but I don't even know where. If I
take one of Daddy James's Hereford, give it a push in the pool, and see what happens.
No. But I do find that interesting, and I don't know anybody that's done it, but I do know people are doing it, but I find that very interesting. I think it would be very expensive.
I can remember long ago they were actually ramping some steers on an incline.
That was a terrible idea. They bucked over on their front end so much easier.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that, but it was something that was that's the only thing I can.
They did that to build more ass muscles, I think.
Yeah, and I think it cramped their top up a little bit too. Maybe
it was a terrible idea.
It didn't help on those really sound ones, but
I think it was
so.
A terrible
I think
idea.
There's more going on, like you. you said you practice showing them every day. That's going to help build some of that show ring endurance and ability to keep their head up out there in the ring for long enough. Or what about tying their heads up for extended periods? Would that be considered exercise?
I don't know if it's considered exercise, but it's a regimen. And we did what we would do is we just kind of did it from whenever, like, you bring them in, you wash them, rinse them, whatever you're going to do, blow them off, tie them up, and then at like close to noon, you lay them down or turn them loose or, whatever you do. But I do think that there is something to keeping them tied up for a couple of hours a day to make them more manageable in terms of when you go to a show, they're not trying to like swing all around and all this other stuff. And I think it helps their endurance in terms of keeping their heads up, standing up, all those things, because, this is not being racist or anything. It just takes longer to fit a calf than it does a sheep or a goat or a pig, or it should. And so they've got to have practice standing up being tied because it does take longer to fit.
And it sounds crazy. You think about just standing up, but it's actually standing up in a stationary position with your head in a certain position that it's going to be much more difficult than you and I thinking about just standing there, or a calf standing there out in a lot. Totally different when we jack their head up and we tie them up. It will cramp them up a little bit over time, and that's an issue. We aren't going to move as well. There's a lot of downside if they're not comfortable with being able to do that for long periods of time. And some of those cattle are just heavy headed that really need that, or they're never going to get that head up in the ring.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. But that's all kind of I got for the cows. Other than I do think that more and more, and this is all species, people using chiropractors and magna-wave therapies and all of that. But I don't think any of that happens on a daily basis. Probably at the most, like weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, but all of that happens too.
Yeah, and I don't know where you fall into the exercise, but the magna-wave to maybe rebuild a sore muscle or a cramped or tight muscle or whatever it is. And I don't have a lot of experience with that, so I don't want to go too deep into it.
I'm just saying those are things out there that people are doing.
Yes. So when we take them out of the cooler at night and just turn them out, I would ideally like to turn them out into a fairly big lot, non-concrete, dirt, sand type lot where they can just, usually when they get out of there, they're pretty happy to be out, and they'll go run around a little bit. And it makes me happy. Everything's working. They're feeling good. Everything's really good. But for the most part, and as Ryan stated, I don't think we're doing a lot of exercise to burn fat. I don't think we're doing a lot of exercise to build muscle in cattle. I think it's all about joint flexibility. It's all about ring stamina and being able to hold that head up or handle being in the chute that long. All of those things are maybe just as important as building muscle or leaning one up through exercise. So it exists. It just doesn't maybe exist for the exact same purpose that we see in maybe sheep and goats specifically.
Yes.
With that, let's move into sheep and goats, because when we talk about those, we are going pretty hard with those to try to build some muscle. And what's difficult is sheep and goats are very, very athletic. I try to mimic some of the same things that human bodybuilders will do and apply what can be applied from their protocols to show livestock. And in that situation, I mean, you can't get a lamb to bench press or to do whatever. And because those lambs and goats are so athletic, it's hard to simulate what we're doing with the bodybuilder. Like an example would be that the bodybuilder wants to work each muscle group approximately every 48 hours. And they're wanting to physically tear those muscle fibers and allow them to recover and repair themselves and build bigger each and every time. So let's tear them, rebuild for 48 hours, tear them again, and just continue that process. Well, it's difficult. These things are super athletes as far as that's concerned. And you hear, Ryan, a lot of people will walk them away from the barn for a quarter mile and let them run back. Do you think that's tearing any muscle fibers?
Probably not.
No, I think we're burning some calories, but we're not truly cramping that muscle and putting enough pressure on those fibers to do any damage where they're going to build back bigger. So we've got to come up with a method that we can do some of those things. And there are methods. We can use a treadmill. If we go backwards on a treadmill, it's a very awkward position for those animals, and they will cramp up. Their hind legs will cramp, their tops will cramp over time, and they do it over time. They can go longer and longer and at higher speeds before you get that same result, but it can be done. And I have a difficult time determining how long to recover those muscles. If you follow the bodybuilder protocol, we're going to wait 48 hours, but I believe muscle recovery in lambs and goats are quicker than what we see in bodybuilders. I have no scientific evidence to go off of, other than I've gotten to the point where we'd work them hard every day and still see substantial muscle gain, where if we didn't allow enough recovery, we wouldn't be seeing that muscle gain. So I don't have an absolute time on that. Other ways, Ryan, of exercising goats and sheep, the Texas way.
I've said this on here before, but I also don't suggest it. I think the most effective way is if you have a dog and a track. But
so why do you not suggest that?
Because I've also known it's good, unless you have a really good dog and a really good handler, it can go terribly, terribly wrong.
Yeah, I've had a really good dog, and I'm a terrible handler, and it didn't go terribly wrong, but it just didn't work very well. It didn't damage or harm anything, but it was a challenge. But those that are good at it, it's incredible.
And I mean, I'm just saying that people that have great dogs and know how to handle those, and I'm not just talking about handle the animals during the actual exercise regimen, but I'm talking about handle them as keeping them, because they are just as much an athlete or I don't even know what you would call them, but they're not a pet, I guess is the thing that I should say.
No,
it's just very hard to do.
Yeah, and they're kept as track dogs. Period. That's their job. That's what they do. Period.
Kind of like hunting dogs and other things like that.
Yeah.
They're not a pet per se, and again, when you're involved with kids and all this other stuff, everybody wants to what dogs. So I do think that if it is done well, there is no probably better way, but it is very, very hard to do it well.
And what's interesting to me, because the dog's involved, there's adrenaline involved in the sheep and goats. And I think that adrenaline allows them to push the limits even further than they normally would. So we are probably tearing fibers a little more with that versus a person running them around the track or anything like that. So I'm with you, Ryan. I think if you just look at it from a result standpoint, if you have a great handler, a great dog, and it's done well, you're probably going to get as good a results as you could anyway. But there are very few great dogs and very few great dog handlers out there. So with that said, I can lean a little bit your direction that
treadmill. It's
not the best idea unless you know what you're doing. But I think it's so much more effective than a treadmill, honestly, and much quicker to get that done. And I'm not very good at it, and we have a track and we still use it, but not with a dog. But yeah, there's the treadmill in our part of the country. As we get from here on, we can't hardly use a track anyway. So we will go to the treadmill to burn calories. We'll go forward with them. If we want to try to build some muscle, we'll go backwards with them, because it's obviously more difficult for them to do so, and we can actually cramp those muscles up a little bit and follow that same bodybuilder protocol where we're going 3 reps as intense as we can with short breaks in between, and just continue to tear those muscles. Give them a day or 2 off. 2 days is probably safe. Whatever you feel, but we've got to make sure that they have time to have that muscle repair itself. And then that's absolutely critical. I can think back to when I was a very, very young child. My brother and sister were 10 plus years older than me. They raised some lambs that they took to the Chicago International. And when I think back on it, I can't imagine it was going on then, but they had a circle track that they didn't use a dog on. They just chased them around. But what they put in is basically boards across this track. Hurdles. Yeah. And that's the only time I've not seen it since then, since I was a very young child.
Well, the first 2 years that I was like 8 to 10, we had a track and a dog. And again, I had nothing to do with it, but our track had where you could put hurdles in, and they didn't have them in every day, but yeah, we had that.
Yeah. So this has been going on for a long time, very, very long time, but I think it's difficult. And I get a lot of questions about I'll get a text, how do we build more top, or how do we build more leg on a goat or even a lamb? And especially on and I guess I'll keep it more to the goat species, and we aren't there genetically with that kind of muscle mass that we see in the lambs. But I'll tell you what, without a treadmill or a track, you're pretending, you're going to fool yourself if you think you're going to build an incredible amount of muscle on them. I mean, it's difficult to tear those fibers and to build that.
Right.
It's not hard to run them and burn calories and burn fat off them if you need to, but that doesn't equal muscle building. So just running a goat say you're chasing the goat as fast as you can chase one, I'm going to say you have zero muscle building going on. You're doing some aerobic, you're doing some calorie burning, and that's about it. So we've got to go
Jazzercise. It's cardio.
Cardio, yeah.
Jazzercise.
If you've got a fat goat, cardio is good. But outside of that, I don't know that's going to do us as much good as we would like.
Dale, I'm going to bling you out a blanket for your goats. So when you do cardio for your goats, they can really do jazzercise now.
No. I'm out on the goat jazzercise. What about show ring endurance? I think obviously, like we talked about in cattle, we can get out and practice with them. And another thing that I would strongly recommend.
You don't believe in practicing with goats?
Oh, we got to be careful because sometimes they get very angry and they get tired of it and they get worse the more you do. So we do have to be careful. But I do believe in getting them up on a stand for a fairly long period of time, every chance you get to get them in that show position with their head up. And remember, we talk about it becomes physically difficult to stand in that position for a long time. And not only during fitting, but once we get up to the ring, they're going to hopefully get out there and you're going to be in a similar position. So the more endurance building in that type of position, probably the better. And I would consider that exercise as well. Certainly important. We have lamb walkers, like a hot horse walker. Again, just burning calories. We're not going to gain any muscle. Maybe helps halter break them a little bit. I found it difficult to get goats on there as easily as you would a lamb. A lamb will succumb to that more like a calf, where a goat can sometimes get a little bit stubborn. So anytime you're doing anything with a goat, whether it's tying them up, putting them on a hot walker, whatever it may be, we've got to pay a little more attention because they will try to hang themselves. They'd just as soon die than do the exercise sometimes. So we have to be a little more conscious of that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Any other sheep and goat things? What are we forgetting? Are we swimming? Are we putting goats and sheep in swimming pools?
I don't know. I think it'd be cool.
But I don't know that we are or aren't. So I think if we do, I mean, I'd say most people do cardio, Ryan. The thing I didn't bring in there with that, we can do some treadmill forward and we can do some running outside, whatever it may be, and burn some calories to try to manage weights if we're getting a little bit heavy or things like that. But I have found in my recommendation, at least on the goat side, rather than starving that goat down or limiting the feed, I would prefer to work them harder and burn more calories and keep the feed intake decent.
I agree with that.
That's my personal perspective on it anyway.
What
about hogs? What do we do in hogs?
I think the main thing on hogs is obviously, if you will look at the vast majority of the show hogs right now, they do not need to build a whole lot more muscles. But
they're probably okay there.
They're probably okay in that department. I think the main thing, and I think the thing that the really super competitive elite families where they have a really leg up is I think they are so good and so in tune on how to exercise those hogs in terms of, it's not for building muscle or keeping them toned as much, but it is because I think they do that primarily with all the hogs are pretty much heavy muscled, all the feed and keeping them in the right shape. I think they do much more with a feed bucket than anything else, but it is the endurance aspect of it all. Because again, if you look at these hogs, as stout as they are and as big boned as they are and all that, they're not really meant to be sound in the package they're coming in right now. And I'm not hating on hogs or anything like that, because we all know I love to judge them more than anything else, but I think there is a lot, and this is going to piss people off, but I don't care. I think there is a lot, how do I put this? I think a lot of people think and not just people that judge, people on the outside of the ring, whatever, that basically if that hog doesn't lock up during that class or that breed or whatever, and some of these, whether it's a Texas major show or a big major show, this could be close to an hour, then that hog is sound.
So they're just talking about if they can withstand an hour of driving and everything that they're doing, that they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can sort some of these hogs, the ones that want to squeal and go to the corner. Now, some are just attitude, but more times than not, if we've got a pen full of hogs squealing that have been out there driving for a while, it's because they're wearing down. They're tired. Their joints are hurting.
But you don't agree with my assessment?
If they can go for an hour, they're sound? Yeah.
No, that some people equate hogs being sound to they can withstand showing at that show for that length of period of time.
I don't know. I don't know if I would just absolutely classify them as sound, but I think that definitely.
I'm not saying you or me. I'm saying you don't think that.
Got it. Oh yeah. I don't know if people put that much thought into it.
Okay, whatever. But
the less the hog's fighting you, obviously, the more of an athlete and the more mobile it is. So yeah, it all goes into that. But when you say drive for an hour, as long as that thing's got its head up and it's cruising the whole time, yeah, if he can hold up for an hour and just keep going with no fighting, no anything, he's probably pretty sound. But there's going to be some that are out there fighting the whole time for that hour and they're still moving, but that doesn't mean they're sound.
But also, I think that has to go with the endurance perspective of it all. And I do think that is where those families that have that down. And again, you can't start one out walking it for an hour. Like it doesn't happen. But I've seen some of this and I've heard more about it. I really do think that is one of the, and it's not a secret, but I think it is one of the true talents of winning in a hog show these days is getting them conditioned to maintain the whole time.
I would agree completely. I think that's huge, and I couldn't agree more. So to recap, Brian, we're on the same page. We're not trying to build muscle. We're not trying to. No. We're going to do all of that with the feed bucket. We have beta agonists or ractopamine / paline to do that. It just works. So now all we have to do is make sure they have that show ring endurance to do that. And think about making a hog a bodybuilder. How would you do that anyway?
Well, they're already kind of there. Like I said, it's just like they're so stout and so powerful as they are right now. I mean, that's just where we're at in the thing. They're not these, and again, and you can look at the bodybuilders. They're not the swiftest moving little people either. But I mean, like, I think that everything as far as the muscle and the shape and the finish is done with feed bucket. I think the exercise part in the hog deal is for the endurance and the show ring and making sure that they can go the distance the whole time and do it as comfortably as possible for that individual hog.
And it's difficult as high as the showmen are wanting to get these heads up in there. It's hard for these hogs to walk, some of them with their head up that high. So it takes time. And it's a challenge for them. So I get that. I'm going to date myself a little bit, but prior to Paline, Ryan, do you remember prior to Paline?
Not really, but I mean, I've heard about it. Yeah.
So prior to Paline, I had a family bring in 27 semi-loads of limestone, and we built a very large hill, small mountain outside the pig barn. And we would take those hogs up a fairly steep hill because we did not have the feed bucket with the beta agonist to build muscle, or I should say the Paline trade name. And we were able to cramp those hogs' muscles and build muscle that way. So combined with feeding them on a steep incline on the hill, kind of like your bucked over steers, but actually a much steeper one. And you could buck a pig over, I'm sure, as well. But going up and down that limestone hill every other day and doing it in a very steep portion of it, there is no question when you combine that with a high animal sourced protein in their feed that was extremely available, and that combination, we would get, I'm not going to say results like heavy Paline, but results that were pretty good. Along with that muscle, then we tightened them up and we had some movement concerns. So You can do that with hogs, but that's not even going to, until they ban ractopamine or no longer produce it. I don't think anybody's going to do that. And as you mentioned, Ryan, I think genetically we're so far along. We just in general don't need more.
Right.
So no reason to do it. Build endurance, keep that head up, make sure they can handle the ring wear.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was almost too easy, Ryan.
Well, I'm sorry.
I better dig deep in the question and answer questions.
Oh, my lovely. Well, before we get to your favorite part of the show, just remember that you can sign up to be a BTRJLA member for the year 2023 that starts January 1st right now on BTRJLA.com. You can still sign up your 2022 show for sanctioning. I've had 3 people call or email or text today signing up shows for 2022. Probably sometime next week or at least by November 1st, we will be taking that down and putting the 2023 sanctioning form up. Remember, it's just $50 per species, no matter how many rings, 1 ring, 2 rings, 4 rings, still just $50 per species. So if you have a cattle-only show, it's $50. If you're going to have all 4 species, it'll only be $200 to sanction your show. Unless you're a county fair, state fair, or a major show, those are free. I want to give a shout-out to our top 10 national jacket sponsors. That is the Magnus family, Ranch House Designs, South Texas Show Series in Kingsville, Bullseye Ranch, and Reprologics. And the top 10 national award sponsors, Ellis Beefmaster, Crown Stone, Leonard Truck and Trailer, Stock Show Auctions, and Rockin' W. Angus. So again, those are our national sponsors, all the ones that I gave at the beginning of the show and the ones right now before question and answer. Any way you can support, or if you see those guys, gals, lovely industry leaders, please tell them thank you for their support.
And guys, those 2,000 plus awards that are going out, it's because of these people. So please support them.
Absolutely.
The first question comes from Kelly. Hello, guys. Look forward to the podcast each week, and I've learned a lot. In regards to hair/wool growth discussion, wraps or no wraps on sheep and goat legs?
I'm going to say that I don't know how they work other than I think they keep those legs clean, and if you keep the hair clean, there's not anything to pull the hair out, but that's as much knowledge as I have on the subject.
And I can't say that I've wrapped a lot of lamb legs and I've wrapped no goat legs, but to me, when I think about it, keeping them clean, I think is good. I worry a little bit if you wrap that a little bit too tight, Ryan. Wouldn't you assume we're
cut off the circulation? Yeah.
But that would not be
again. Everybody, I would have to talk to somebody more in depth about it because again, I can't unless they're wrapping a product in it to make the hair grow. I don't understand. Why wrap it?
Well, I've had these discussions with people and
okay, well then what do they say?
On both sides of it. I can give you what they say in a minute. My conclusion is the best thing about wrapping is these lambs are pretty good at wool picking, whether it's their own legs or another lamb's leg. And that's if you have to have them in a pin together, absolutely. If you've got one, I mean, it could be going good and all of a sudden that dang thing starts picking wool and just destroys the legs on one of the other ones.
I forgot about that. Good. That makes sense.
So I don't see goats do this unless you have a lice or some type of dry skin or some problem with that. And some people will wrap goats' legs. I cannot come up with any reason. I think keeping them clean, I'm good with that. I'm good with preventing the wool picking. But anything that we assume is stimulating hair growth or wool growth, I'm not buying into it. I just can't. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there that could tell us differently that have had far more experience than I have, but I've had many conversations with some of the what I consider the most intelligent people out there that are fitting and showing lambs at the national level. And that was my end conclusion is wool picking and keeping things clean is about the extent of it. And I
can understand those two things. I can't, I mean, I agree with you. I always thought when this first started happening, it was like, well, what good is this gonna do? Because again, if you wrap it too tight, suppressing blood flow is not gonna help with hair growth and all this other and just like everything else, you need oxygen to things. But I do think that keeping the wool clean, legs clean, and the wool picking, yeah, I buy that. The rest of it, I'm with you. I kind of don't buy into it.
Yep. So Kelly, we're not the most experienced on the leg wrapping, and I do not recommend wrapping any goat legs. I don't see any need or reason for it. The lamb people, I'm going to say 90% are wrapping them, and they have their own reasons for doing so. I suggest you seek out some of those people that have been doing it a long time in your area and have those discussions and kind of form your own opinion. I think Ryan and I are on the same page with here are the benefits, but I don't know if there's further benefits. I would have a hard time understanding how that works. The next question comes from Josh. What bothers Ryan more? Kids with cell phones or white sole shoes?
I would probably say kids with cell phones. That probably bothers me more because, again, the white sole shoes thing, like, I don't know why it's become such a big deal that, like, people, whatever, like, but it's just my personal thing. Like, I've used kids to win with white sole shoes and showmanship. I will continue if they're the best showman. I'm not going to beat somebody because they have on white sole shoes if they're the very best showman out there. Now, if there's somebody just as good as them and they don't, then they might be in trouble. But the cell phone, I just don't understand any reason unless I did have one lady snap me, and her kid is diabetic and the cell phone is there for something. I get if you have a medical condition and you have to have your cell phone with you. I mean, I'm not ever going to call a kid out for it per se, but like, I get that. But that's maybe 1% of the showing population. I just don't understand the need for a cell phone in a ring. I don't. If I don't, I am very, very attached to both of my phones. And if I don't have to have it, I don't think you do either.
And I can't, I'm sure I've seen cell phones in the rings, but I honestly, Ryan, I can't point to a specific time that
you also didn't think there were white sole shoes. And now that's all you can say. You said so.
Hit me as hard as you until you mentioned it, and now it bothers me.
Now you will see the cell phone.
It doesn't bother me. It draws my attention.
Now you will see.
You might be right. I have not seen a lot of them. I'm sure I've seen some, but I can't just think of this show as where I saw something like that.
I'm going to say close to a dozen each show I judge.
I like this next question. I love it.
Oh, God.
Levi sends a question in. When can we expect a Farmer Almanac episode?
I think it's going to be next week.
I like that idea, don't you? I just need to get a Farmer's Almanac out and learn a little more.
Yeah, it's got to be next week because next week is Hocus Pocus.
Ah,
remember?
Got it. I do remember. So yes, I do. And are you insinuating that the Farmer's Almanac is Hocus Pocus?
Yeah. I'm insinuating.
Okay. Well, you could take it. Yeah. Now you have to be careful. There's going to be some validity to that.
That's okay. I don't believe in it. I don't buy into it, and they can. And just like whatever else, it's just my opinion. But next week we're doing Hocus Pocus because it's Halloween, and
that's great.
So next week, big boy.
Next week. And I'm going to get a Farmer's Almanac online or something so I don't have one or a hard copy, but I'm going to look through it just so I can pull some examples out. I can think of a few that I hear about, but that's about it. Well, Ryan, this has been good. Maybe a little shorter than some, but hopefully
well, you
good.
Always think we're too long.
Yeah, sometimes we get a little long on occasion. With that said, I appreciate your time today, and to all of those out there, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?